painting your army faster and better at the same time.
It sat there with a great big box full of plastic sprues. Oh my goodness, where to even start?
Being able to batch comfortably as a median average 30, 40 models
In one go.
in one go, yeah, which I know that reaction is exactly what I'm talking about.
We're broken.
You do need like reward for effort.
Stop using Nuln oil for everything. You haven't actually really saved any time. You've just spent a lot more time faffing about and you've gotten a worse result.
Don't paint by detail, paint by colour. That planning factually saves you time.
Hello everyone and welcome to Paint Perspective episode 115. In this episode we're going to be talking about new ways to paint your Warhammer army faster and better at the same time. We'll also be doing our regular segments like hobby updates and hobby hacks. But first, Paul, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
He's back.
I'm back.
You've been a busy boy, I think.
I've been off for a week. It's been great. But but now we're back. It's quite nice to be back on the old cast.
You've been working on something a bit frosty.
A bit chilly. Ice cold, you might say. Yeah, no, I've been working on my Space Wolves Wolf Guard Battle Leader. That's an awful mouthful, that. But yeah, no, I finally finished him about a week ago. Some people might have already seen it on social media because I was very eager to say, look, I've done a thing. And he's I think he was on every post I could do.
Did you manage to hold on to your followers after Joe boycotted you live on the show?
Did he?
Yeah. Do you not know about that?
No, hey, look, hang on a minute. What do you mean he boycotted me? I'm sure he's a follower.
Well, Joe found out that you weren't following him on Instagram, and he was very upset about it. So he staged a boycott.
Protest. It was a boycott protest against the.
I'll have to have a look at that and see what.
Yeah,
I did notice he was following me, which was very, very cool. But I don't really follow many people anyway.
You hear that, Joe? He's doubling down.
So here we go. Look.
Oh, he's hitting it.
Live
on air. Look, I followed you, Joe. Sorry about that, mate.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
So now, if you did boycott Paul, you can.
No, he may have said that he'd boycotted me, but he's still following. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to follow back. So
yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That's true.
But no, I'm extremely grateful for people to be looking at, the stuff that I chuck on there. There's very few and far between. But yeah, no, I managed to scrape together my Space Wolf Battle Leader.
I think it's your best model. I think.
Here he is.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it in the flesh.
I haven't seen
it's
it yet.
Hiding the whole time. It's hiding. Yeah, dude, this is your best model, undoubtedly. This is great, dude. Honestly, I
know.
How modest. You've smashed it, mate. I think your painting, the progression of your painting over the last year has been absolutely fantastic. You should be absolutely overjoyed with this. This is mega.
I want to have a look at this. I've been trying not to look at it because I wanted to see it sort of live on the show.
No, it's definitely a big step from my last one, even from the Iron Skulls thing.
Yeah.
But I was really trying to get the glazing down.
You smashed it. I can see it on the legs. Looks great.
But while we gawk over it, do you want to walk us through the process of how you painted it?
The process. Okay, so before I started, I got myself a painting journal. And I have to say, my memory is terrible. I can't remember from one miniature to the next what paint, the list of paints I use. So I'm actually using it now, which is a great help.
That's, of course, the Siege Studios painting journal, available, link down below.
Just a caveat, Paul technically is paid to say that because he works here, but technically he's not because he used it of his own will. So yeah.
No, I bought it with my own money. It's not a freebie or anything. So, but no, it was really, really cool. I spent a little bit of time, even so, way more time trying to clean this model up. Even so, I still missed a couple of bits on the feet.
Yeah,
the mold lines there on the feet, which I covered with snow anyway, so it don't matter. But this time I really wanted to try and do some glazing. I've tried it in the past, but I haven't been all that great here. And actually, I wanted to try something different with the saw as well this time, a bit of an experiment, and try and do some sort of like a
flame
lava
saw,
sort of molten kind of
blade,
hot,
blade,
like really hot, rather than like a plasma or force or whatever. But yeah, glazing takes a while, but it's actually so satisfying to do.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And I obviously undercoated with black to start with, so glazing, especially like the red cape, it took a while. But I think I did for the cape. I started with corn red. I just painted it a good coat of corn red.
Yep.
I think I had 6 coats of corn red.
Yep.
Really thin.
Yep.
And capes always put me off because I'm always nervous of doing capes because it's always too streaky and patchy and horrible. But it's because I'm not thinning my paints down and just building up the layers. Mm-hmm. It's always been a problem for for me, and it always puts me off doing capes and big flat air. Even just doing a Space Marine's leg, those big open panels and things, I can never really get a nice smooth paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to show more of like the palette in the Patreon tutorial videos that we've been doing, just to like actually visualize the thinness, because I think it's a commonality we hear is like, oh, I'm really thinning the paint a lot, and you look at it, you're like, you're not.
No,
need more.
Like you said in I can't remember which episode it was, at some point in the past. It's almost just like tinted water.
Glaze.
Yeah.
Water. So water out with a hue of the colour rather than a thin paint.
Just disciplining myself to put some of that glaze on my brush and not take it to the model, but wick almost all of it off.
Well, I always say that it's like mopping a floor. You don't take the mop out of the bucket, put it straight on the floor. You rinse it out and like or whatever the defined terminology.
Wring it out.
Yeah.
Wring it out. Rinse it. Wring it. Same thing.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But it's so satisfying because you can see the colour building up with each pass. It's so great. And it like George says in the past, well, by the time you've done the brush stroke, if you're doing it right, the paint is dried straight away, so you can glaze it, wait a few seconds, then glaze again, and you can just build it up that way. It's so good. It's so satisfying to watch, and I think it's one of my new favourite things to be doing painting now. It's so
nice. Great. That's exciting. It shows though, because the transitions are way smoother than anything I've seen you paint before.
Yeah.
I've got to say this. Like, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, just as a spectator, being on the show, to watch your painting.
No, I really enjoyed doing that. And I think to shade down on the legs, I think I did about 15 layers of glaze. It sounds like, oh my God, 15 layers. But each layer dries within a few seconds. And
using a hairdryer, or are you just letting it
No,
dry?
It's so hot anyway.
Yeah, well,
at the
to
moment.
be fair,
it's
we had a really
by the
hot.
time you've put done your brush stroke, it's dried. So, but and also I wanted to have a bit more of a practice on faces as well. Like,
the face is excellent, Paul.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, hopefully it's a lot more improved than past ones. But again, I wanted to try something different there and something new.
What did you do that's different then?
Well, first of all, he had a black undercoat.
Yeah.
I painted his face very thin, corn red all over. And then I painted the bottom half of his face from about his nose down with like a blue, and the top half with like a slightly pinkier red. And then after that, I just glazed with I think it was Bugman's Glow. And then just built up that with ice yellow on top.
Yeah.
And just kept building it up.
The hair's great as well.
Well, the hair's
really good.
The hair again. Normally I just dry brush hair, and it never looks right because you get that kind of chalky look. So I actually tried to paint the strands.
It shows.
A bit time consuming, but yeah, I like the overall of it. Oh, one of my favourite things to do on there, on the gems, I don't know whether you can see it, but where the base of the gem meets the gold inlay.
The setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually managed to line a black line around.
Very nice.
So good. It's like
Satisfying.
That is so, I just went round it and I thought, I can't believe I'm actually going to try and attempt this. But just thinned down my paint a little bit, nice pointy brush, and it just went round and I thought, I did it. And it was great. I thought, I'm not going to touch it now. That's it. I'm off.
I think sometimes you just need the bravery to actually try it. Like, oftentimes you are actually capable of doing it.
I can always just go over it again. But I thought, let's just do it and have a go at it. And
I would
it was done,
love to have been a fly on the wall or had a camera set up and watch your reactions when you were achieving stuff.
I just thought, put that there. I've done that. Take a photo. Show my dad.
Show my dad.
I always do. He always gets. He's interested in it, like me painting them and showing him what I do. So yeah, just doing that. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed painting that miniature. Yeah, great little model. And the sword, something new. Trying to paint up to I don't know how it comes across.
No,
but
it's good. It's really
quite
good.
I
it's
enjoyed
great.
doing it. Perhaps it was not bad a first attempt. So
Nice
I think
places.
it's smooth.
Yeah, it's very
nice.
very,
yeah,
very, very smooth.
I know I can get smoother, but obviously that's just a bit more practice and things like that. So
I like that the gold is like quite aged as well.
Well,
I think it looks really
yeah.
good.
Well, I didn't use. I think I just used like a brassy tone rather than
Straight gold.
yeah.
But it's really cool. Like even like the pelt that's hanging from like the strap of leather at the bottom of the shield. You've painted like the almost like the bit that holds all the fur together, like the bell part of it. That's a different tone of gold to the shield as well.
Yeah.
So like it's some really cool choices on here. Like really really cool.
And then of
choices.
course I had to freehand the symbol on the. That's the one thing I did struggle with.
Oh, what the dag marking to the pad. They look great, dude. Like, they're really sharp.
Well, that's because I did it about 5 times.
No, that's right.
What I do is
you got the result. That's
I
all that
painted the
matters.
yellow on and glazed that in the corners to like a slight orangey look.
Yeah.
And then I painted on some black and tried to get the two sort of fang to a sharp point. One was slightly fatter than the other. So then I had to go back in with the yellow, and then it was too narrow. So then I had to... It's just a bit of back and forth in the end.
But you've also done some shading on the yellow as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks great. It looks really good, mate, honestly.
Yeah.
Best model.
And the font, the base was nice, and I've used some seed scenics on there. Yeah, a couple of little.
I heard they're pretty good. Yeah.
One of my favourite things, like on is putting the tiny moss pads.
Yeah, they're great.
The really short.
The trick with
tufts.
those, those is like lift. I think I said to you, like, don't rip them off the sheet because they're a bit. Once they're off the sheet, they're quite delicate. So like you just tweeze around the edge and gently lift rather than pull.
I use a needle to get mine off. I like get the tip of a needle, kind of scoop under, just lift it up, and then now you've got like a precise tool that you can actually aim with.
Yeah,
I was kind of just
don't get your knitting needle
with
out.
because I sculpted a little bit at the base there, with nooks and crannies and things. So what I used a scalpel and that little sheet of moss pads I got, I sort of cut them to shape and then used the tip of the scalpel to just to plop them on. But yeah. It was great. I loved it.
Smashed
It shows. It looks excellent. Massive improvement on the
huge
on the
improvement.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm just wondering what to do next now. So I've got a little bit of a list of things to do.
I think one of the things with that is like that. As much as the improvement in execution is really important for you, I think it's actually all the lessons on the model that you've learned. That's the actual like the good model is like the silver lining. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You've walked away with the glazing. That's almost more important.
Key, and it's not as like time consuming as you might think.
No, exactly. And also like the precision, like you're saying about around the gems and all that kind of stuff, like you're just your brush control to be able to do that precise execution as well. It's like there's, again, like the model's amazing and fantastic, but that isn't the real win here. I think personally, all the things that you push yourself on that you've not done before, that you've had those yes moments, and even though you've had to do the freehand like 5 times or whatever,
yeah.
But who doesn't, to be fair?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You sit and tweak it for ages until you get it right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it's about the perseverance to get to the point where you're like, I'm happy with it, and that you've done something new that you've not done before. So
No, I really enjoyed painting that.
You smashed it.
Yeah, and then also did a bit of like chipping battle.
Yeah, I saw
damage
that.
on there.
It looks really good.
There's not too much. There's a couple of little bits on there, which I haven't really done before in the past. I normally just get a sponge and try and sponge on, but I thought I'd actually try and use just a brush.
Yeah.
To try and paint those on a bit better. I probably could pop those a little bit brighter, but overall, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, it looks excellent. Really well done, Paul. Honestly, it looks fantastic.
Even his little teeth, his little fangs.
I saw those.
Nervously trying to get the brush in there. I did try and paint his eyes, but they just looked too bananas.
They're quite. It's got quite a shallow.
And then I would just think, well, actually, if he was on a snow planet, he would be squinting anyway because of the light levels.
You're actually foreshadowing one of my tips for later on in this episode.
Yeah.
Well,
Paul.
there you go. Don't bother with eyes. That's another one. That's a tip. So I sort of covered those back over. And then I don't know if you can see it on his face, but I did his little nose, a little bit of a pink glaze on the end of his nose just to show that he's a bit frosty.
Bit Santa.
Or Fenris, or wherever they are. But there are obviously other snow-covered planets.
Other planets are available.
Yeah.
Covered in sno. Yeah, which is the only places these guys go.
Well
But,
done, mate. Top stuff.
Yeah, crushed it, seriously.
It was great. Lots of people give me some nice feedback as well on different places, different bits and pieces, which I'll take forward. I mean, you even gave me, I think, a couple of weeks back to say push the face a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And you did as well. So I think it's funny because you all had the same comment on the face, but so I took it up a little bit higher again. But overall, it was good.
You want it to catch the interest, like it's the most
Yeah.
recognisable bit. So,
But no, it was
yeah,
great.
you
I really
smashed
enjoyed
it.
painting that.
Top stuff, dude.
Awesome. If you're listening to this podcast, then there's no doubt that you're looking to improve your miniature painting skills. And what better place to start than to learn techniques directly from industry professionals with the Siege Studios Patreon. As a member, you'll gain access to our entire catalogue of masterclass video tutorials with exclusive content going far more in depth into painting techniques than you'll find on YouTube, hundreds of easy to follow step-by-step PDF tutorials, and the ability to get dedicated video feedback on your miniatures so you'll always know what skills you need to improve next. Plus, tons of other additional benefits, all bundled for the same cost as just a few pots of paint. So what are you waiting for? Take the next step in miniature painting and improve your skills by heading to patreon.com/Siege Studios. Okay, so the main topic for this episode is, of course, painting your army faster and better at the same time. normally there's a bit of a trade-off, but I think you can have your cake and eat it sometimes. We've done an episode on this previously, and I thought it would be cool to, one, that was a while ago, and two, we've painted quite a few models since. So I thought maybe some tips that we've picked up, a bit of a refresh, and some people might not have seen that older episode as well. So I guess the idea with this is tips that can save you time and still give you a really good result, or often like a better result than maybe an alternative method. Because I've found that some of the like speed painting tips, there's a lot of meandering around and all this like extra guff and tools and tips, and you're doing a new technique for the first time. And I found that often when I'm trying to like save time, it's actually ended up costing me as much time and not giving me the result I've necessarily desired. So I thought this might maybe be just some of our like top 3 or 4 tips each, perhaps. James, you're itching to go. I can see it.
I'm good. I'm
chomping a bit.
fully loaded. First one from me: restrict your color choices, and at the same time, have a greater scope of color jump or jump in color between them. So what that means is that you have less to actually put on the model in the sense of the amount of colors that you're using, but the colors that you are using have a greater jump or contrast between them, or value contrast between them. So in that way, they appear more striking on the model. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yeah.
So it gives you less to think about, and what you do think about and what you do put on the model is more impactful.
Right. So for example, if you had, let's go green, let's go dark angels or salamanders or something.
Yeah.
Rather than choosing like yellow as an accent color, which is quite similar to small jump from green, go for like something complete opposite end, like red.
Yeah.
Big visual.
But that also works because of color theory, obviously, because of the complementary.
So I'm saying you could probably like intertwine the two.
What you're saying is more color theory based, as in the red and green complement. However, I just meant in general use colors that have a higher contrast to another color that you're using. Doesn't necessarily have to follow color theory if you don't want to. If you don't care about color theory, or you just want a strong color to contrast it, you don't necessarily need to. However, color theory is a great best friend, right hand man to your painting and to your knowledge, because then, and like I've said this before, but like color theory can be an abyss of like learning all the different relationships between colors. Just a really strong concrete foundation of understanding complementary, harmonious, and triadic and those 3 color relationships will give you a really good understanding of why you're choosing a color, why you're using it. And it also gives you a visual understanding of like looking at other people's paint jobs and going, I know why they've used red because this is green, or I know why they've used this color because of this. Like, it just gives you a really good understanding. It's almost like if you don't know color theory, or at least a basic level of color theory, it's almost like being blind to the language of what someone is using on the model. Whereas when you do understand it, you can go, cool, okay, well, they've got a blue model. I understand why they've used orange, or why they've used yellow, or why they've used red, or those kind of things. So I think it's really important to get that minimal understanding. And really with that, I think that takes you to like the 85% of like what you need to know. Like you can do like all the other different relationships if you want, and learn those as well. Nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're just looking to do armies, which is the point in case we're talking about for this topic, I think that minimal understanding of relationships will help you hugely. So yeah, in summary, for me, it's just literally just like restrict the colors that you're using, make them higher contrast to each other, as in bigger jumps, or that could even be within the same branch of color. So you could have blue, for example. If you're going to highlight a model and you're going to do one stage of highlighting, don't just use maybe just a slightly brighter color. Go a bit more.
Done quite dramatic.
Yeah. And then that way it'll just from a distance, especially like, the 4 foot, 3 foot rule, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a bit more impactful. Does that make sense? So like in general, just have, I think it's one commonality between that I see on a lot of classes is a lot of painters maybe are scared to push color. And I think that like if you just step outside your comfort zone and push it more and do less, but push more with the color that you're using, you will just get something that's a bit visually more impactful.
Yeah. I guess that ticks both boxes as well, because you're saving time by not having to paint as many colors on the model, restricting the palette, and then spending that time concentrating on the contrast jumps.
Yeah.
And then you'll get, as a result of it, a more striking army anyway, because you've got a lot more visual variety on the model, especially at arm's reach for like gaming armies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I would say that if you're struggling to pick colours, so you've got you want to paint your army with blue, and you're struggling to think of any other colours, you can use the colour wheel to help pick for you.
Yeah.
To know what will work.
It's a skeleton. Like you put the flesh on with what you do with it, but like it is a skeleton which gives you a little bit of guidance, you know, and that's just for understanding a couple of different relationships I mentioned earlier. But yeah, like it shouldn't. I don't think it should be this daunting thing. I think it's a best friend, right hand man that just literally helps you when you're in a position where you don't know maybe what to choose or what avenue to go down. You know, so yeah.
Paul, have you got any speed tips without compromising quality?
I would suggest planning anything before you even start. So, like you mentioned, picking your main colours and things, sorting out what units or what characters you want to paint, what order you want to paint them in, and things like that, and getting them a process written down somewhere. Doesn't have to be in a journal. I think it can be on a scrap of paper, but having a plan before you go in there is going to be such an immense help because, like, if you sat there with a great big box full of plastic sprues, oh my goodness, where to even start? So I think having a good idea of what you're going to tackle first, and then from that, I think is probably going to be. I know it sounds like an obvious thing, maybe, but I know from when I used to painting armies and things, I'd just go into a shop and just buy a whole bunch of stuff and then get home and think, what am I painting? I'd paint all the characters first because they were the coolest, and then I'd be left with all like the Brussels sprouts of the army to paint afterwards and think, oh, this is a bit of a chore.
So I'm very guilty of that. Like eating when you eat food, eat the things that you like.
That's
and then
right. Yeah,
I'm very guilty of that, and I think that we often do that with miniature painting. We often go, "Oh, that character's."
No, right.
But I think you can empower that.
Yeah.
And just to tack onto that, like I think you can empower that, and what I mean by that is, let's just say that maybe painting 10 infantry in a batch is something that maybe you find a bit more arduous, and even as a kid, you want that new BMX. Or you want that new thing, you get a paper round and walk it rather than cycle it, or you do the chores around the house, or like I think you need a reward based system, which I think does really help, like not only for motivation but also for a sense of achievement. Like I think if you say to yourself, right, well, when I paint those 10 infantry, I'll then get to paint a bit of the character, and then when I've painted that part of the character, I'm going to stop. And having the perseverance and the ability to go, right, cool, I've rewarded myself for painting those 10 Marines. Yeah. I'm now going to go, right, and you use that character as a bit of a booster for you to get through the slog of the harder stuff.
File stuff. Yeah.
So then I think you do need it within your painting. I think you do need like reward for effort.
Yeah.
It's that's prevalent in so many other areas in life. And like, why we don't implement that in our painting is a bit of an anathema to me. Like so as a good example, like if you do get through that thing that you find harder, reward yourself. Have like on the palette, have like the fun zone, which is for like the character,
right,
which is like 30% of your palette,
nice,
and you only work in that area of the palette
like
on that character,
section,
the treat section, And then the 70% of the palette is the work zone.
Yeah.
So like you can fluctuate. And the best thing is to have that reward sitting in front of you, looking at you, and you're looking at it, going and forcing yourself to go, I'm not allowed to touch that until I've done this.
Do you know what I have to do? I can't even do that. I have to literally take the model and put it somewhere else where I can't see it. I can't do it.
You can sort of giving it the side eye as you go.
I'll lie to myself. I'll be like, when I finish this highlight, then you'll be allowed to do the character. And then I'll get to the character and I'll be like, I can just do a little bit more. Yeah. So what I've done now is I've just started putting stuff like in drawers or like away.
Yeah.
So I can like actually lock in on what I'm doing.
But it is very much like that reward-based system. I know like you've obviously got to set that yourself. But it does help because it means that you're ticking off the things that you find harder or that are not as enjoyable. It does help massively with that by having like a bit of a reward for effort. Like I mean, as I said, we need it in every other part of life. Like we do it in every other part of life. True. Like, you know, so why would you not do it?
So when you go to the gym, spend an hour in the gym, have a cake, treat yourself. But what I would say, the planning as well, like obviously, you know, when you're planning your paints and you're planning your models, even if, you know, whatever size batches that you can cope with, you know, 5 models, 10 models, whatever. Obviously, know what you're painting for that session.
Yeah.
Perhaps even do smaller sessions. So, like, you're motivated to do that thing, that task on there, like all the trousers or whatever you're going to do. And what I would also suggest is for the planning is perhaps minimize your workspace and only have those 3 bottles of paint for the trousers on your desk. that's such a visual thing. Like if you're surrounded by
all these colours,
it's like,
yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting at a minute ago about saying putting the model and like putting it in your drawers, just so you can like direct your attention.
So, but if you've only got like 3 paints and you're minimalising it visually, it just thinks, well, I've only got to do these 3 paints on here, and then I can go and do some of that wicked character or whatever.
That was one of the best things I think I've done for my painting desk. Was when I moved. When I reset my painting room up, I used to have my paints quite low. So like I'd have like 1 set of drawers or whatever. And obviously as you're sitting there painting, in your peripheral vision, you've got all this colour. Like, and it does get distracting because you'll be looking at a detail and this bright luminous yellow will be looking at you on the shelf and you're
the lamp's shining off it.
You'll get that side eye at the paint. So like I then done another layer and raised it even higher. Like you, George, and Joe, obviously, you use the nail varnish racks as well, where they're quite good.
I've got some of those after your thing.
I've recently purchased some of those, and I'm also raising my paints even up. So I'm essentially raising my paints out of peripheral vision, so that even if I'm looking directly in front of me, I've got no distraction of colour. It's just like drawers or whatever the case may be.
You need like blinders. He's like a horse.
Yeah, 100%.
Blinkers.
100%. Because like, just removing any of those little distractions helps massively. Because like we've all been there. You'll be painting a model, there'll be an aquila or a little brooch or something like that, and you'll be painting with like, I don't know, black, red, or whatever. And then you can just see the gold. I'll just get the gold. I'll put it on the palette, and then that. You actually touched upon something else as well, just really that I want to chuck in as well, which is the actual batch. Like batch painting is a skill. I think George and me and we'd all agree. Like it's a skill in itself, and I think
it's a mental ability. I think
it's no different than going to the gym. I'm going to throw that out there. Like if
you get a cake after,
you can buy yourself a cake if you want. Yeah. Like
that's the equivalent of if you was going to batch paint an army, and then you do half of the batch, and then you're at the end of it, you get a spray can and just prime back all over the whole lot of it. That's what eating cake after the gym is like.
You'll start seeing work in progress photos from Paul, and like there'll be like a donut or a muffin on the table in front of him or something like that. But what I was getting at is like batch painting as I said, is like a skill, but like it's also like mental fortitude, and it's also it is no different than going to the gym, or in the sense of if you go in the gym and you pick up the 5 kg dumbbells and you just do reps with those, you're only your experience and your ceiling is going to be that 5 kg dumbbell. Does that make sense? And it's the same with batch painting. If you restrict your batch to 3, 5 models, 10, 15, 20 is like an Everest to conquer. If that makes sense. I would hugely implore. I mean, if you think, I'm not the pro gamer on this show, and obviously Joe plays more than me. But what I would say is that from my time gaming, I know that around about 30 infantry, 30 tactical marines, or like maybe, and you have like 10 elite or whatever. So if you think between 30 to 40 is like an average amount for like most armies, unless you're playing NIDs or orcs or any of that, and I feel sorry for you if you do. But what I'm trying to get at is the 30 or 40 models and being able to batch comfortably as a median average 30, 40 models.
Yeah. In one go, yeah, which I know that reaction is exactly what I'm talking about. That broken.
That is like going into the gym and picking up the heaviest dumbbells that you physically can. Yeah.
Doing one rep.
Doing as many reps as you can with that, yeah, and making that noise. But the point I'm trying to make is that once you get a bit more acclimatized to doing bigger batches, when it comes to doing 3 or 5, you fly through it because that's not your ceiling. Does that make sense?
There's a memory just clicked into my brain. There's a reference, I'm just going to throw this reference out, from the first Never-Ending Story film. Do you remember a Never-Ending Story?
I remember that film, yeah.
And the little lad's up in the loft space, isn't he, with a book that he's taken from the bookstore, and he opens it up and he starts reading. And he gets to about the end of chapter 1 or something, and he gets his lunch out, and he's got his jam sandwich, and he takes a bite out of it.
Is it Bob my mom?
No, who knows? He takes a bite out of this sandwich, and he goes, "Oh, there's still a long way to go." And he puts his sandwich back down and continues reading. It's like you started your batch, but you've already immediately gone to a bit of a treat, like your character model. But you've got to realise there's still a long way to go if you're doing 30 or 40 miniatures in one go.
Can I give you a hack within a hack?
Yep.
Yeah.
So when I've got my batch, I can't quite do as many as James. I say top end of my batch painting will probably be about 20 models, especially if they're like Space Marine size.
Yeah.
But I'll put them on my desk in a row of 5, kind of stacked behind each other. And then that way, when I've finished 5, I can visualize it as like a row is complete.
Yeah.
So and then you get through the next lot and you're like, okay, I'm 25. I'm still painting 20 models total. but I kind of get to visualize it as 5 model chunks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when I get to the end of the first row, I'm like, oh yeah, first row's done. On to the second row.
But then, can I ask a quick question? Obviously, if you've got 20s, let's just take Space Marines as an example, right? You've got your 20 Space Marines. What about all the sub-assemblies?
Well,
Because that's an awful lot. That's a sea of bits to look at.
You're right. So I'm really glad you're mentioning this. So just to touch upon it.
Because my alarm bells are going, oh my God, 20 models and 50 bits.
Yeah, I get that. Look, some models, when they have like lots of details that are across the body or that restrict detail, that kind of stuff, you do have to do those parts as a sub-assembly or a TSA or whatever. When I done the Age of Darkness box, so when we done the Blood Angel Army for me and Ed done the Age of Darkness box, Ed was quite happy. He was like, you want to do the 40? I was like, I'll do the 40 infantry. Like, that's my jam. I love, literally, what I done is all the bolters, as in the bolters across the chest. When I made them all, I blue tacked them and got them in. So I glued the arms on so the bolters were perfectly aligned. And then what I did is where the hand is cut and the hand joins the thing, with a fine line Sharpie, I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wrote the number of that model on that bit there, if that makes sense. I put a bit of blue tack over it so when I sprayed it, I didn't spray over the numbers and everything, and it left the contact point as bare plastic. And then on the gun, on the hand, I had done the same thing. Number, I had the corresponding number just with a Sharpie. It takes 10 minutes or so just to go through and just write the numbers. And then what I done is when I painted them all, I literally had 40 bolt guns and 40 bodies as 2 separate processes, all the guns with the hands and then all of the bodies perfectly aligned so that the gun just clips straight onto the body. I will find the photo of it and I'll put it there, and there might be 1 or 2 photos, but I'll get George. I'll get the photos put up on there.
Slideshow
of batching through 40 at one time, and I know it sounds crazy, all right, okay, but I promise you, mentally, as in the mental fortitude and the ability to do it, the more you stretch that ability to get through more in one go, it means doing less is so much easier mentally and like for frustration wise. The other thing I was going to say as well is let's just talk about consistency. If I'm doing 40 all in one go, which is 40 is obviously quite a decent sized number, but like even if you do 30 or whatever it is, whatever you set your ceiling as, within that batch, you're going to have way more consistency because you're going to be working efficiently through a greater volume and you'll be doing the same steps over a greater volume. So there'll be John goes with Bob and because his grenades are painted and his ones aren't. Like, you'll literally have a nice chunk that are all exactly the same because you've actually lavished attention on those models consistently across the bigger batch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whether you set your ceiling as 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever.
5 is fine too.
But
that can be fine because if you're only comfortable doing 5 now, try 7. Okay, with the next lot, I'm going to try 10. Okay, with the next lot, and just stretch that. And even if that's over, not even necessarily over one army, but maybe like, okay, with this army that I'm painting at the minute, I've only got the mental capacity to do 10.
It depends if you're airbrushing or spray canning or whatever. You can do more, I suppose. But I suppose you could always just, if you wanted to do 20, you could airbrush all the base coats on and then go down to 5.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, 100%.
Whatever works.
Like whatever works for you. Ultimately, the goal is to get the army done as quick as possible without sacrificing the quality, which is the thing that you want to try and do. My point being, and just to sort of like nicely round out this section, this point is that, like, again, you're in control of setting what your ceiling is, but I would implore you to try and push it, because all that's going to do is mean that once you've conquered, imagine you climb a hill. Once you get to the top of it and look off that hill, you're like, wow, this is amazing. That is exactly the same when it comes to painting. You will feel much more happy about painting lesser amounts because it's not your ceiling anymore. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to explain with that.
What if I told you can easily take the basing on your miniatures to the next level? Well, now you can with the new basing range from Siege Scenics. Siege Scenics is dedicated to helping you create immersive and realistic environments for your miniatures that feel both alive and dynamic, whether you're setting the stage for your tabletop battle or telling a rich, unfolding story on a competition display. From the lush hues of summer grass to cold alien landscapes, Siege Scenics has you covered with expertly crafted and innovative products that capture the ever-changing beauty of nature and let you bring it straight to your miniatures. To see the full range and upgrade your bases, head to siegescenics.co.uk or check with your local retailer. On the note of pushing your own ceiling as well, and because you used a gym analogy, I'll keep that going. When I was first started with my personal trainer, he would basically say to me, "You're more physically capable than your brain thinks you are." So if you tell yourself, "I can only lift 45 kilos on the shoulder press," you will only be able to lift 45 kilos on the shoulder press. If you tell yourself, "I can do 55," and then you do it and you prove yourself right, then that starts, you can more easily bump it up.
Yeah.
You need to like prove yourself wrong. Like not everything that you think is necessarily true.
No, I think
so if you tell yourself, "I'm just the sort of person who struggles with batch painting," you will be the sort of person who struggles
That's
with batch
just
painting.
self-confidence, though, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, of course. But like being brave with your choices and saying like, "Okay, normally I can only batch paint 5 models. I'm going to give 10 a go.
Yeah.
I'm really going to give it all my heart." And then you do it and you go, "Okay, I can do 10."
Yeah.
And actually, maybe that actually wasn't as hard
But
as I thought it would
that's
be.
the first
Yeah.
step on the ladder to then going, "Oh, actually, I'm going to try 15."
100%.
Oh, actually, and well, the last thing I'll say is because I don't want to try and go crazy on it and keep going on and on about it. The last thing I'll tack onto this is just the factual thing that repetition is the mother of success. If the first time I do something, it's going to be the slowest and maybe not the best. But when I'm doing like 10 models, my hand-eye coordination and muscle memory learns all the details that I'm painting on those models. So the first one is slowest, and as you do the reps, as in the individual models in the set, by the time you get to the 8th, 9th, 10th, 39th, whatever, you're flying through because you're like, "Cool, I know where all that is. Yeah, cool. Like you've set your consistency of paint's flowing as it needs to be. You know, and it needs for the opacity work. All that stuff is locked in. So you're just literally just going through, getting them done. It gets quicker at the end of the process than it does at the beginning. But you've got to walk through this. You've got to walk through the stages, and you've got to walk through you've got to persevere with it to get the reward of, "Wow, I've done 40, or I've done 30, or I've done 20." Like you've got to push through. So yeah.
Okay, so my tip is, you know how they say, "Don't sweat the small stuff"?
Yeah.
I have a phase towards the end of a project, which I call sweating the small stuff.
Another gym analogy.
But the idea with this is,
Yeah.
those little things are often the difference between a good army and a great army, right? It's those extra little details when someone picks up the model and they go, "Oh, wow, he's even painted the rivets on the belt buckle," like little things like that. But I often find that most of those things in isolation don't actually take that long to do. The really time-consuming parts of painting a miniature are the big parts that everyone has to do regardless of the quality of the model, right? So even on a Golden Demon entry that takes you 200 hours, you've got to spend a good while putting on the base coats.
Yeah.
And that's still true of an army that you're going to speed paint. Like there's some bits you just can't get around. But the smaller the detail, kind of the quicker it is to do, just inherently, just due to scale, right? Yeah. So I have this phase where I'll go in and just do little embellishments, which again, you can batch paint for speed and efficiency's sake, but they actually improve the overall look of the army. But because you've been using all of these quick tips kind of along the way, you've kind of won some time back. And rather than just binning that time, like actually using it to help really get to the next hurdle. So for example, you've got a whole bunch of like rivets on some armor, like on a tank or something, going in with some silver and just picking all of those out. It takes like 3 minutes, really. But that's like a big visual difference between doing it and not doing it. If you want to take that a step further, okay, I've got some like brass trim. I'm going to go in with some like, technical paint, nihilak oxide, or some like thinned down Sotek green or something. Just paint some like little bits of green, like corrosion around
like
some of the
verdigris,
spots where you've got some damage. Little scratches and like little bits of battle damage on a character. You could pick those out quite easily. Okay, we've got some gemstones on these Eldari weapons or whatever. Just go in and add a tiny little white specular dot highlight, or maybe a gloss varnish over the top of that as well, just applied with the brush. Little things that take not a lot of time to do might take, say, an hour, 2 hours on a whole army, but is a massive bump in quality, whereas some of those other things that we're talking about are like fairly big trade-offs for efficiency.
It's not just. Sorry,
I was going to say the spanner in the works for that process, all those little lovely little extras at the end, is at the start of a batch, you've got loads of motivation to do it and enthusiasm to do it. With the finish line just around the corner, sometimes it's either I'll leave those bits off, or you tend to rush them just to finish the batch or the model, just so you can say they're finished, they're done, you can move on to the next thing.
But that's where, nodding back to earlier, that a reward thing is beneficial.
You get another bite of the sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But also, like, they're quite, I think because they're easy, like they're fun to do, those things. Whereas, like,
you might find them fun. Not everybody.
everybody
would find
that's
them
fair.
fun.
No, that is fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But I find personally, those things are very, very satisfying to watch come together.
Yeah.
They happen super duper quickly as well. So, like, you're getting an immediate reward for what you're doing.
One of the things that I'll tack onto this, and you've laid it up perfect here, George, is literally it's not a sacrifice of quality, it's an efficiency thing. The quickest, the shortest amount of time investment to do something on a model is when you have the color on the brush. So if you're painting something silver, look at the other details and go, is there anything else on there that is supposed to be silver while I have silver on the brush? Like, lots of painters butterfly, and they'll go, oh, there's an Aquila, I'll paint it gold. Oh, there's a belt buckle, oh, I'll paint that silver. Oh, there's a little bit of leather, I'll paint that brown. And all those times you're changing color, and you're rather than going, I've got silver on the brush, I'm going to paint the gun silver, and then, oh, look, there's some rivets here, ... Take seconds. You're using the same color that you got on the brush to add that extra detail onto the model, which intrinsically is extra value, visual value and interest on the model. There is no time like the present while the color is on the brush to do those things. And I think rather than butterflying and going, oh, there's this detail, don't paint by detail, paint by color is the way that I would always explain. Look at what color you got on the brush, what's on the model that needs that color, just do it. Don't mess around.
Don't think about it. Just do it.
Literally just do it in that moment. Like, there is, like,
Nike, if you're listening, hit us up.
Not just paint it. There we go. Just paint it. That's literally what I'll say. So literally, if you've got the color on the brush, paint the damn detail.
All I can hear is Shia LaBeouf going, just do it.
Just do it. No green screen to me go, do it. But like, like that seriously will change the way you approach it, because we spend so much. It's the seconds and minutes, seconds that add up into minutes that add up to hours, where you're just dithering around changing between colors because you've noticed a detail on the model. If you completely flip it totally and go, I've got gold on the brush, I'm going to paint anything that needs gold. That in itself will help you hugely to just be more efficient, and also do the exact thing that you said, which was add interest to extra little things on the model that are intrinsically going to make someone look at it and go, wow, that looks great.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I would recommend.
As miniature painters, we all know how important it is to have good quality tools, brushes, and paints. But if you want to improve your miniatures, none of those items matter if you can't properly see what it is you're painting in the first place. That's why one of the most important upgrades I've ever made to my miniature painting setup was my Onyx painting lamp from Native Lighting. Its incredibly bright 2200 lumen, dimmable LEDs cast soft and diffused light on my workspace. Plus, its highly adjustable articulating arm allows me to finally sit in the perfect painting position for hours on end without any aches or strain. And its daylight colour balance temperature of 6500K gives you the confidence that the colours you're painting on your miniatures are true to life, and your miniatures will pop on the tabletop. To upgrade your setup to the professional grade equipment that we rely on here at the studio, head to siegestudios.co.uk/shop or check the link in this episode's description. Right, that brings me back to my contradictory point 2. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
What we was talking about in the start of the show, you was talking about the eyes on your Space Wolf. I think there are certain details on a model that people spend time on that are either never going to be seen, or the amount of time they take versus the amount of visual impact they have is like out of skew. Right. So my example for that would be eyes on a face. If you paint a face really nicely, it looks great. If you paint your face really nicely and then spend 15 minutes fiddling around with the eyes trying to get them right, your risk reward to time, like triangle, if you like, is all out of skew, because you could spend a lot of time on it and still it not look quite right, because it's quite a tricky detail to paint in terms of like technical ability. And then even if you do it flawlessly, it's still probably going to take quite a while. And then I can't even notice when it's on the table anyway. Yeah. So through, I guess, experimentation and maybe just some common sense as well, like what are the sort of things that are going to stand out? Because I know I said earlier, oh, these are all the little things that add up and they do stand out. When there's a lot of contrast, for sure. So like I said about like, adding some corrosion onto rivets and all that sort of stuff, I can see that because there's like a nice contrast jump. But with like a head, especially at arm's reach, like it's shrouded by his brow line anyway and his cheeks, and you've painted all of those details nice and bright, like the highlight points. So they're already standing out. Whereas you've got this like sunken recessed eye that's like 0.5 millimeters wide. You can barely see it. So for me personally, in a sort of contextual painting faster and better approach, save time by not painting them, and then have your army look better by not having poorly painted eyes.
Yeah. And you could spend that time on things like maybe something you are better at, like lenses or like all those kind of things that then someone will go, oh, you paint the lens on the gun or you paint the lens on the whatever. Like, it is about picking your battles, I think. You also got to think like, what is the purpose of it? Which is, as we said, if it's a gaming army, is someone going to look at that model so close up? Ultimately, it's just a representative of something on the board that you're rolling dice for. The eyes are not intrinsically that important to the miniature at that point. If, however, it is maybe your commander of the army and you want him to be like,
for sure.
the most important model in the army, maybe spend the time on that.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, you are quite right. It's about picking your battles and where you spend your time to get the most impact visually for someone looking at it, I think.
Because people just think about speed and quality without thinking about like difficulty too much. Like, that is a third variable that I think is quite important, but I think it's often overlooked. People go like, I'm going to save time on this, or I'm going to do this and not do that. But like, thinking about the curve of how hard is this to do versus how much time does it save, or how much visual benefit does it have, I think is also quite important.
I'd rather omit painting eyeballs and perhaps do battle damage with a bit of sponge.
Yeah,
spend that time doing that.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, you'd definitely see that.
And it'd probably take a similar amount of time as well.
It would do, yeah.
Paul, have you got any more examples?
Well, maybe like a unifying shade color.
Yep.
I know we all take a lot of armies are sort of shade the recesses with either black or really dark brown or whatever, but maybe pick something else.
Yeah.
Do it, but do it across the entire army. So you might have you've got several different units that might actually be different colors, but they all have a unified shade color. So whatever color you might pick, that's totally random. I mean, I would go like purple or blue or deep dark red or whatever you want. But then that thing, I know the army banners and the main army color ties the army together, but you've also got this other outside thing that can tie the whole army together. And I think time-wise, if you're going to be shading anyway, it's probably not too much of an extra time sink to do it, and it might just help. I mean, it might help make the army pop a little bit more as well. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, that's. I think that'd be quite cool. And it would probably make it stand out from if someone else has got a similar army and yours has got an underblast of purple or magenta or some other crazy color.
You can be quite clever with that and use like a color. So going back to color theory, you could use like a harmonious color. So like you could use purple, or people look at you crazy when you say, well, you can shade red with green, and people are like, what? Like, but it works.
Dark green,
like you use dark green as an undershadow for red. I mean,
don't always have to resort to black.
I'm so glad you said. I just want to say one thing. Like, if you've got a sunny field, desert, snow base, and your shadows are black, it's not real at all whatsoever. The only time shadows are jet black are when you're in a cave with a torch above your head, or it's nighttime. Like, that's the only time that your shadows are black. So,
can I tack onto that as well? Stop using Nuln oil for everything. And let me just caveat that. The amount of time that I see people spending washing a whole model and then going back and rebase coating the whole model because the shade has gone everywhere. And I sit there and I think you could have spent the exact same total amount of time just neatly recess shading it and gotten a better result and in the process improved your brush control.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I like washes. I use washes a lot, but I like them for areas that are small in size, like physical mass, and have a lot of recessed, bold detail. For example, like the lower casing on a Space Marine bolter or something that's all like metal. It's got lots of little grooves and greeblies and bits in there. A wash is a perfect use for that.
Of course it is.
Use a wash.
Yeah, 100%.
But when you've got like a tank and people go, oh, well, I guess you just sort of use washes for stuff, right? And then they just put wash all over it, and then they go, oh, now it looks really dirty and dark. I've got this pooling. I guess I'll go back in with the base coat color and sort of undo everything you've just spent all that time applying.
I'm going to say something controversial. I think the actual name for that type of paint is the root cause.
Shade.
Well, wash.
Yeah.
Like, what does that imply? It implies that you slap it everywhere on the model.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and you've got like dip washes and stuff as well.
Yeah, like it's like that. We're quite linear, like, in the way that we are. Like, and it's like, if it's called this, your perception is, well, just do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I don't necessarily blame people for getting that wrong either. It's just being slightly misled in information.
I genuinely think it's not on anyone's fault. It's literally a case of like, it's the delivery of it, and it's like, well, if it was just it's called this, but that doesn't necessarily mean you do this with it.
Well, I mean,
Do you know what I mean?
that's what obviously when I started painting, that's what I did with it.
Yeah.
Just watched
That's what we all did with it.
Yeah, we've all
panel
done
and
it. Like, I'm not sitting there saying, I mean, but point in case, George literally just said, well, on the lower part, on the receiver part of the gun, like I'm going to shade all that or put all of that with I'm going to wash that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but what Paul's talking about, I definitely, when I first started painting, was just washing all over everything.
And then I had to go back over with my base.
Exactly.
It's choosing to wash everything when it's appropriate. That doesn't mean that you're then doing loads of cleanup or repainting as a result of it. Does that
and
make
they're harder
sense?
to control as well, because even I know a lot of people use washes in a more deliberate sense of like, I'm going to apply it to the recesses, but it's still messier.
Yeah.
And there's still this inevitable stage of, I'm going to have to clean up some of the mess. And I just think you haven't actually really saved any time. You've just spent a lot more time faffing about, and you've gotten a worse result.
Well, like this is why I think that. So this is why I think washes as a term isn't necessarily used by every manufacturer now. And I know we're going on for a bit of a segue from the topic, but shade as a name doesn't directly make me think I put it everywhere on the model. Shade makes me think, well, it's where there's shadow.
Yeah.
So for me, that makes me think, well, I'll just place it where the shadow needs to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think the terminology's kicked around a lot though. People go, I'm going to add a wash of such and such shade paint.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I don't think we ever discussed it.
No, I've never really thought too much about that.
But I think the name and that implies subconsciously to someone how to use it.
Yeah.
Without actual thought of, well, I'm only putting it where the shadows are. So, do you know
Don't
what
get
I
me wrong,
mean?
there's definitely use cases where like putting a wash all over something for a tabletop army can work.
You used a good example of it. You paint all the metal part on a bolt gun in bolt gun metal or whatever, like, and then you shade all the metals darker, so then you can highlight it. That makes sense. But if you've got like a lovely bright yellow Imperial Fist, I'm not going to go and chuck agrax all over it because I want the shadows to be darker. I think you should.
Yeah, I think you should. That'd be great.
Like, I don't know.
Certain factions and armies lend themselves to it better as well.
Cool.
Yeah,
So like with like a Middle
things.
Earth army, and they've got like all, Rohirrim, and they've got all like the cloaks and leather and all this stuff. An all over wash could actually be a very sensible decision for something like that if they've got a lot of like folds and tight packed detail. But again, like to use my other example, a Space Marine where it's mostly just flat panels with some gaps in them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best use case.
I've never thought about that like that. And that's literally something that's happened in this episode, is just thinking about actually the term and how the term applies to the way that it's used.
There you go, put that on your course curriculum.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting.
I think that kind of covers the main gist of the things that I had on my notes. Have you got any like closing thoughts?
I just think in general, like a little bit more thought to the approach and how you decide upon the actions that you're going to undertake on the model. I think that, again, I always say it's that breath before the drop. Have a think about what you're actually going to do, and then that will lead to you having some choices, which then are about the process. And like you said, look, not trying to plug journals or whatever. If you use one, great, and if you like it, great. But if not, then like a pad or like even on on your phone digitally, just a bit rough plan of how approaching it, I think is a good way. I think the big takeaway from this, for anyone listening or watching, maybe should be that it shouldn't be just because you're trying to do it quick, it shouldn't be the quality drops. I think I think there's a perfect harmony of being able to do stuff quickly with restricted and minimal choices, with a bit of planning that still gives you a comparably good spectacle of an army. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that's a way. There's a really happy medium that you can achieve, and it doesn't. The instinctive thing shouldn't be, oh, I'm speed painting, or I'm doing this. Oh, the quality is going to be crap because I'm doing it quick. Does that make sense? I think that provided you tee up your choices correctly, you can still execute something really nicely to a good standard that still has that. Oh wow, I love your army, dude. I think that's something that is still achievable.
Yeah.
Most 9 times out of 10, a fully painted army looks great on the table anyway.
Yeah.
No matter your level.
Certainly better than a half painted or an unpainted.
No, you can't just feel an army that's great. Get paint on it, no matter what.
Yeah.
It'll look great anyway.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it already. Again, this isn't meant to just be a plug for the journal by any means, but like obviously we do sell the painting journal, and the idea of that is like just spending that time. Like the reason that product exists is because we've painted so many of these armies, and this is stuff that we've actually been doing, and we want to try and pass that on and help you guys. Like one of those journals, if you just spend, again, like just because you're spending time doesn't mean you're wasting time. Like you could sit there and plan your army for half an hour in your journal before you start. that might actually save you
Metric
net
tons.
3.5 hours of messing around with colours and this one didn't work out.
Of course it does.
Or I was sitting down and I didn't really have a plan, and then I got halfway through, and then I went on YouTube and I was looking up a tutorial, and then I quickly wrote down their colours that they was using. If you could just streamline all of that, and actually you're starting with some positive momentum rather than getting like 2 steps deep and then you're on the back foot.
However you choose to do it, like whether it's in what we provide or whether it's in a pad or whether it's on your phone, like all I'm like it's, and the one thing I do want to combat a little bit in what I say is that it's not to take the fun out of it. And I know that we get some comments and feedback on that, but like that planning factually saves you time. Like it, because you have choices decided and you don't have to go, oh, I'm not sure on this, whatever, blah, blah. Like I literally that, and I find the planning quite enjoyable. Like I've kind of taught myself that the plan is actually an enjoyable part of the process. That means I don't have to think too much when it comes to actually doing it, especially when I'm doing armies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Plus, it's a quick reference as well for projects you've done in the past where you thought, oh, I want to use that armor that I used on so and so.
Exactly.
Model.
Yeah. Yeah.
What paints did I use? And you just quickly go and reference it. And
exactly.
Even everyone's got a camera. Take a picture of your rows of paints that you used and what you painted next to it.
Yeah.
Boop,
yeah.
done.
100%.
Yeah. So quick.
Yeah.
Easy.
Nice. Cool. No, I think it was a good conversation. Yeah. Walking away with some
Hopefully
notes.
some more knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Should we do hobby hacks? It's been a minute.
Yeah.
If you're new around here, hobby hacks is a segment that we used to do at the end of every show, but we started kind of slipping them into the middle now.
Yeah.
It's getting a bit like the Sahara.
Yeah.
115 episodes in, we've got quite a few hacks.
Yeah.
But this is a segment where we share just like a little quick tip with you to close out the show. Paul, I think you have one.
Right. This isn't mine. I didn't just suddenly come up with this.
Well, most of them aren't ours, to be
No,
fair.
of course. But this is something else. This is something else I saw somewhere else. And like, you know me, I quite like the idea of just doing some crazy stuff sometimes and just thinking, I really fancy doing that idea.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to do it on one of my really expensive models.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? So what you could do is you could go to the old cheap shops.
Is that their
The old cheap shops?
The old
No, I
cheap-
don't actually, Paul, to be fair.
I think you call them pound stores now.
Okay.
Okay.
So you go to the old cheap shop, right?
Yeah.
And you go in there and you buy a bag. You remember the green and brown tan soldiers?
Yeah.
Oh, like little army men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get like a bag of like 50 of those guys for like £2.
Yeah.
Test your painting processes on those guys.
Yeah.
You won't be so worried about making a mess of those guys or getting things wrong or being worried about throwing paint on them. And
It removes the emotional attachment.
Exactly, yes. Because obviously...
Is this for more like experimental stuff?
Course,
Because obviously
yeah.
the details are so different. You couldn't really practice your
the
edge
details
highlighting.
Everything's a lot softer on those. They're not very crisp. But if you were thinking about colour choices or even practicing glazing and things like that, just buy a bunch of those guys. You haven't got to worry about if it's wrong. And if it is wrong, well, you've got a bag of really random looking green and tan soldiers to give to your nephew or something.
Yeah,
play around with.
100%. Or like I said, or we've all got loads of spare parts that you can practice stuff on spare parts as well.
Yeah,
like,
like-
I know it's not a full model.
I know, but
I
I
get
mean,
that.
like spare parts and things, you might be, I need that spare part for something. These are just like, I'm not emotionally attached to these. These have no consequences to what I'm.
What if there's like
actually
a really
painting.
cool general in there?
Then
Yeah.
you give that sucker a purple undercoat and just go to town on it.
Yeah.
But
You're like, I'll buy these army men, no emotional attachment. Oh, he's got an AK-47.
this guy's wicked. I'll save you for later.
Yeah.
No, but it's
Warhammer
just-
goes on the shelf. The toy soldiers from the pound store become your new thing.
It's detaching yourself from the stuff you actually want to paint.
I dig what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
Removing
valid.
the
It's very
emotional
valid.
attachment.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to plug it. I'm sorry to put in a cheeky plug, but we've got
What's
a really good bit store that
could
you manage, Paul. That if you want to get
Yeah.
some spare parts,
But again, this is more for just,
I get what you're saying.
this is having a big bag of random plastic that you can just have you can practice edge highlight on them to a certain degree. Some of those bags have got little tanks in,
yeah.
an aircraft. Totally the wrong scale. Not to the guys, it's ridiculous. But you can have a go at edge highlighting and, throwing your washes over everything and seeing how paint works and things like that. If you wanted to, see what your speed paints look like
Yeah.
on a miniature, spray them all up, do a zenithal, throw your speed paints on, you get a decent idea of what things will look like. So I
Yeah.
thought that was quite a
No, it's
cheap, effective way of doing
I like that more than the spoons.
Yeah.
I've heard people say
I've seen
getting like
people
plastic
use
spoons,
Plastic spoons, yeah.
which I'm not massively a fan of that
painting
idea.
plastic spoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a cheap option, I suppose.
It is, yeah.
But
No, I
They
like it.
haven't really got the detail on them to test.
And once
washes
you've
and-
painted them all these crazy colours, you can then rebag them,
Pro-paint them and put them on eBay.
take them down the charity shop, and then
Yeah.
someone can get a lovely painted.
They go
plastic
straight on
eye.
eBay. They will pro-painted.
Yeah, no, I mean that's good. That's good.
Like,
It's a good
give
little
them to
tip.
your neighbours or whatever as they are, bag of random stuff.
Yeah, no,
whatever.
makes sense.
But I thought it was just a quick, cheap, effective way of doing it.
Queek. Did you just
Queek,
make up a new word?
Yeah.
Between, I'm
Quick
not
and
letting
cheap.
that go.
Yeah.
I'm not letting that go. It was queep.
Yeah,
Cheap and
It's a
quick.
queep pat. It's
Yeah.
a hack.
Queep
Yeah.
pat.
It's a good one.
I've got to say that now.
Thanks, Paul.
I'm back on.
Top stuff, Paul.
Okay, we're going to round out the show there. Massive thank you for listening to this week's episode of Paint's Perspective. We're going to jump over now to the post show, which is a benefit for our patrons. So if you want to get access to the extended versions of this podcast, we do an extra 20, 30 minutes every week over there. You'll also get no ads. You'll also get access to all of the extended masterclass tutorials, hundreds of PDFs, loads of other cool benefits. Check the link down in the description for that if you're interested. Otherwise, a massive thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Oh yeah, the mission to get Centos.
Winding our merry little ways to the GW store.
Yeah, I'm going to admit that I rung around a few of the shops.
James on his shoulders, long trench coat wrapped around, hat, glasses, and a newspaper with two eyes cut out of it.